Now let us see what are constraints and why constraints are required in the database. Constraints are nothing but the rules that a table's data column should follow. The SQL server, it validates on the column values before it inserts or updates them. Why SQL server at the database level it has to validate before storing the data inside the table? This is to prevent the bad data from being entered into tables and also enforce some business logic at the database level itself. For example, in the case of salary column, I should not have negative value. While storing the data itself or before storing the data in my table itself, I want to validate whether the value which comes into my salary column is a non-zero or negative value. Okay, it should be a positive value, non-negative value. Okay, the salary should be greater than 0. Using check constraint, if you define salary should be greater than 0, that means even if there is a negative value comes in the source system data set, especially in the sales salary column, it will not allow those records to get stored in this table. Those records will get rejected. Once that records get rejected, those rejected records will be sent to the source system owners. They are supposed to validate and come back and say whether the data whatever got rejected was the correct one or something wrong with the data entry. Okay, due to data entry, due to some wrong logic also, you might be pulling the data from their source system. While pulling the data, you might be applying some business logic. Because of the business logic, wrong business logic, it would have it would have assigned negative value, or it would have you got the negative value because of the wrong formula that you used it to transform the column or something like that, right? So in that case, if you enable the business rules or the business logic at the table definition itself, we can prevent bad data being entered into a table. And also we enforce referential integrity between tables, more than one table or so, right? So this is to make sure that we are storing the consistent data across the tables, and also we enforce uniqueness using unique constraint and primary key constraint, and foreign key is helpful to establish the relationship between more than one table. So this is my employee table, this is my department table. So in these two tables, the common columns are department number. So in order to query the data from these two tables or more than two tables, we need to have a relationship. We create the relationship or the link using the common column. In this case, the common column between these two tables are department number. The common column names need not to be same. For example, here they mentioned department, depart NO, here depart ID. So that's when you need to go back and validate with the appropriate business stakeholders. When you get inducted into a project, you need to go and talk to those people and make sure that this department ID is same as the department number in this column. Can I use department ID in this table to create a relationship with this employee table's department number column? Once they say yes, you can go ahead and create the relationship between these two tables. Only when you create the relationship between these two tables, you should be able to query the data from these two tables simultaneously. Supposing you want to display employee name and the corresponding department where he works, right? The department name and the employee name and then salary. If you want to select these three column values simultaneously, you need to have the relationship. You need to join these two tables based on these the common columns. Okay, so in this case, the employee ID is the primary key. You can see only the unique values in this. When it comes to primary key, you will have to have the unique values in the primary key column. So this is a primary key column. In my case, the employee ID is the primary key column. You are not supposed to have the duplicate value. Even if you try to store the duplicate value, it will reject it. And also it will not allow null values in it. primary key. This is the properties of primary key. Similarly, in the department table, department number is the depart NO. This is the primary key. The same rule is applicable. Only unique values are allowed to store in this column, and you cannot insert null, no duplicates. Fine. Next, depart number column. In this table, employee table, the depart number is the foreign key. Foreign key. This is the foreign key because the values in this column comes from outside of this table. 10. So whatever values you mention it here in the department number column of this department, the same value should be here. But the foreign key can have duplicate values. Foreign key can have duplicate values. It can also have null in it. But you need to have the relationship between these two tables. Okay, the foreign key. Why we need a foreign key? This is a foreign key. This is called foreign key because this employee table's department number column is the foreign key. It references the department table's depart number column. Understood? Next, what is unique key? Let's say I have a column called phone number. Let us assume that here I have a phone number column. I have another column called phone number. The phone number will vary from one employee to another employee, right? Not all the employees share the same phone. Each employee will have their own phone number. The phone number is unique to each employee. We can say that way. And also, the phone number column can have null values. You cannot expect all the employees to have phone number. Some people say, I don't have mobile phone. I don't use mobile phone. But when it comes to unique key column, phone number, let's say phone number column is a unique key column. We enabled unique key. We defined it that way. Okay. It can store only the unique values, but it allows only one null value in it. Only one null value. That is the property of unique key. Now you understood what is primary key. Primary column should have only the unique values. No null values are allowed. And foreign key column can have null values in it. But the foreign key will reference the other tables primary key column. It has to reference other tables primary key column. Okay. The unique key column will have unique values in it. It allows only the unique values. Also, it allows only one null value in it. That's all. It's pretty simple. Next one is we will see the different types of joins. We have something called inner join, left join, right join, full join, and self join and Cartesian join. Okay, what is left join? How many of you are, sorry, now what is full join? Inner join. First of all, what is inner join? What is inner join? I will just show you here. I guess all of you remember the Venn diagram. In school time, we studied the Venn diagram. Let's say I have a data set A and I have another data set B. Okay, let's say here I have 1, 2, 3, and here I have 1. Let's say here I have 1, 2, 4, 6. In the case of inner join, how it works is the common values between these two data set is nothing but the intersect. Intersect is nothing but the common value between these two data set. So what are the common values between these two? 1 and 2. But here 3 is there, but there is no 3 available here. There is no 4, 6 values are available here. The common value between these two sets are 1, 2. That is nothing but inner join. In the case of inner join, let's say you have a table by the name of A and you have another table by the name of B. It will merge these two, or it will join these two tables based on the common column between, or common values between these two data sets or these two tables. Next one is left join, left outer join. What is left outer join? select all the values from table A, all values from left side, all values from left side table, and the matching values between these two tables, 1 1 and 2 2. Okay, and we are left with 3. Okay, but in the left side we have 3. It doesn't have any matching value on the right side, hence return 3. So that's why I said select all the values from the left side and the matching values from these two table. Matching values here is 1 2, but 4 and 6 will not be fetched here. The right join is opposite. In the case of right join, all values from right side, it will select all the values from the right side, 1 2 4 6, and the matching values between these two tables. So 1 and 2 are matching values between these two. This is what right join is all about. Next one is full join. Full join is all the values, 1 2 3 4 6, all. It's kind of union. Okay, full join. And self join is a little bit different. Okay, you are using the single table. Within the single table itself, you are joining with another column. Let's say you have something called employee number and you have something called manager ID is there. So what you want to do is you want to do a self join within the same table. You are doing the join between one column to another column. It is called self join. Next one is Cartesian join. Cartesian join is something like, let's say you have 1 2 3, and in this you have 2 3. So what it does is it will try to match. It will each record in this table will get matched with every other record in other table. So 1 comma 2, 1 comma 3, 2 comma 2, 2 comma 3, 3 comma 2, 3 comma 3. The Cartesian join is an expensive operation. Okay, it's an expensive operation. Okay. Next, what we will do is we will directly jump into the SQL Server Management Studio. We'll connect to this one. I just expand databases. Here I have the HR database. Employee, department and bonus, these three columns are there. So what I do is I just click on the new query. It will open a new query editor. And I just select, and I just want to see how many records are there. So in this table, good, I have reasonably I have good amount of data in it. And employee table, okay, I just employee table also I should be having data query, but it shows nothing. Null values are there. Employee table, and let me do one thing. The employee table. Okay, employee only I selected. Let me just select the EMP1. Yes, EMP1 I have data in it. Okay, so in this table, okay, for example, if you want to see the column name, instead of seeing it here, you can expand it and you can see it here. But if you want to compare it here itself, you have something like exec sp_help, and the table name is emp1 plus fi. It shows the column name here, and the next one is I just Yeah, but still we cannot see both. Like how we see it in queries, you cannot see it both. See the last one, the first one is employee number. Oh yeah, you can see it. One second, let me just move this up. You can see, if you scroll down, you can see the primary key in the department table column also it shows, right? So the first one is the employee tables columns, employee number, e-name, all the things are there. The employee number is the primary key column. So to verify that, probably you can just check here on the keys. If you see here, there are no keys defined here. Primary key we have not yet defined, and we will create it. We'll create a primary key now. And the next one is we have department table. In the department table, we'll go ahead and see if I created any column. No, I did not create this. So let me do one thing. Instead of spending time in creating this, already I shared the script with you all people. Let me just open this one, department. Yeah, this one has the data in, even the key is already defined. Anyhow, don't worry, I will share the script to you all to create the constraints, everything, okay? And what we will do is we'll select the data from this one instead of that one. So this one has only less number of records for the department table, and I just go ahead and select start from EMP table. Here also I have employee table. Okay. I want to select, execute only this script. And let me see if I do this one. Yes, employee table has data in it, and then department table also data in it. So in this case, like I showed you here in this PDF file, so in this the department number and department, so both the table we have the department number, but in the employee table the department number is the foreign key to this table, and in this table employee is the primary key. So to see the foreign key enabled on this table, we need to check it in this table. Let us go to the department table. Okay, I did not create, first of all, I did not create the foreign key constraint, it seems. So let me just do one thing. I just open the queries that I already stored it. DDL and DL and DDL something, right? So yeah, this is the one I'm talking about. Look here, this is how you need to create the table. Create table, table name, and the first column is your primary key, department number. Look here, in this case department number, and the D name, and locate LOC. So using transact SQL you can create it, or using the GUI itself you can create it. But if you do it using transact SQL, then you will be knowing how to define a table. Okay, you will be understanding the syntax, everything. Forget about syntax, at least you will be able to understand the underlying logic. Okay, constraint. So the constraint name, primary key. This is how you need to define a primary key to a table. So in the department table, department number is the primary key. What I do is, instead of specifying the primary key here, after listing down all the columns, or after defining all the column names along with the corresponding data type, at the end of it I define the primary key. But this is the keyword. Instead of using primary key and department, see, I can remove this one. Without that itself, I should be able to create the primary key for this table. Why I use constraint is a later point in time, if I wanted to drop the constraint, it will be very easier. You can just go ahead and expand. So this is the constraint pk underscore, for example, in the case of, look here, pk underscore depart number 1. Okay, pk, and so here also pk underscore depart number. Look here, this is the constraint. Alter table name depart, drop constraint. The constraint name, if I give, it will get dropped. Okay, fine. So that's how we can. So you need to use the keyword constraint, and you can give some meaningful name for the primary key. The meaningful name, right, I have given like this: pk is primary key. This constraint, whatever I create, is pk underscore depart no1. Okay, supposing if you, to identify the primary key or unique key or some other key, right, you can see the icon something like this. If it is the black colored dark key along with your constraint, supposing I did not give pk here, okay, simply I give depart no1 or emp no. Okay, so how will you know where is the primary key or not? To understand that, you need to look at this icon. If you see this icon, that means there is a primary key exists for the employee table in the name of pk underscore emp number. This is the constraint name, primary key constraint name. So this is optional, but this is the best practice. The department number, this is how you need to define a primary key for a table. In general, this is how in real-time scenario we generate the script, and we will share it with the release management team. At the time of migrating our application code, they will be migrating these table creation related scripts also to the production environment. First, they will be creating the tables. In the table, they should be knowing which one is the primary key. In the employee table, we define all the columns along with the corresponding data type, and then constraint. Look here, in the employee table, the primary key is emp number. The foreign key, there is a keyword called foreign key, department number. Here, it's still this command continues to the next line. Okay, don't think, this command, this line ends here. No, the line extends to the second line. References, the foreign key department number. I call this one as a foreign key in this table, foreign key department number. This department number references the department tables depart number column. That's it. Next one is insert the data. Once you create the table, insert the data. That's all. For your understanding, what we will do is we will create another database called demo2. I'm going to create a new database by the name of demo2. Initially, demo2 database will not have any tables in it. If we expand it, you will see there are no tables here. So what we will do is we are going to create these tables. So in this case, what you need to do is you need to specify in which database these tables needs to be created. So in this case, it is a demo2 database. First, you need to specify the database name. First, you need to select the database where you want to store these tables. Use demo2 and press F5, or you can click on execute. Fine. Now I am inside the demo2 database. So what I do is I first create the department table. Why should I create the department table first? I can create employee table first, but in this case I created the department table first, because in the department table, especially in the depart number column, right, whatever the data you have it in this department number column, only those values should be there in this table. In this table's depart number column. Okay, so that's the reason it is always good, because the employee table is depending on this table, or in other words, the department table has a dependency. Since this table has a dependency, first you need to load the data in it. First create this table and then load the data in it. Okay, now let us see if let's say I'm going to drop all these things. Anyhow, employee table I'm yet to create it. It will throw an error, employee table not exists. Department table exists, it will drop it. Query completed with errors. Okay, so now I need to drag this up and see what cannot, because it does not exist. Yeah, department 2 does not exist. The cannot drop table employee, but department table got dropped from this. Okay, let us do one thing. I create first the employee table and see what happens. Look here, foreign key FK department number references invalid table depart, because this table, in this table we defined, hey, for this department number column you refer the data from this table. First of all, this table is not there. If you tell SQL server go and refer this table for this column in my table, so it will throw an error. Okay, that is also the reason why you first create the table which it has dependency with it. Okay, I'm going to drop the employee table now, because department table we did not create it. Okay, so, but it does not exist, cannot drop employee. Okay, first of all, it was not created, right? It was throwing an error, it was not successful. Now what I do, that is the reason why I first create the department table. Okay, so now on the left side under demo2 database, we don't see this here. You need to click on the refresh button. Okay, and you need to expand this one, tables. Yes, the depart column table got created successfully. And if you expand it, under the keys you can find the primary key. For this table, the primary key is depart number, and you can expand the column names also. These are the columns are there. Fine. Next, I just create the employee table. Dependent table. Fine. Now it got created. Refresh it and expand it and see. Yes, these two tables got created successfully. So this is where you need to understand. Okay. The next one is this script. I will share it to you for this batch. Other batches I shared it already, and I'll just share it with you all. You can start create new tables using Transact SQL itself. And the next one is the data. How to look here. This is my data. I'm going to first load the data in my department table. Instead of go, you can use begin end also. Okay, you can use begin end also. Okay, the data got executed. It got loaded successfully. Just verify this one more time just by dragging this up and a little bit. Yes, 4 row affected. So I just inserted 4 rows. It got inserted successfully into that one. The next one is I'm going to insert all the employees records here. So I just execute all these things. Query executed successfully. At the bottom you can see it here, and you just move this up. Yes, rows got loaded. And what you do is, the next one is select star from employee and select star from depart. But you can, while querying it, you can query it in any order. Here, there is no order comes into picture. Press F5, and if you scroll down, see, this is my department table data. This is my employee table data. Okay, so now we have created 2 tables, and we define the primary key for each table, and also we created the foreign key in this employee table for the department number. This is the foreign key because the data comes from this table, outside of the table. Fine, everything is good. The next one is to start firing the queries. So now you understood how to select the entire data from the table. Now if I want to select the specific subset of the data from this table, how can I do that? In this table we have various columns are available. So what I do is I just select the subset of this records. I have how many records are there? 11 records are there, or not 11, 13 records are there. Okay, so what I do is to find out the total number of records in this table, select count of star from employee. This is the command we use it to find out the total number of records in a table. 14 records are there. Okay, so here I just put comment here, total number of records. You can use count of star. Okay, and then next one is select star from employee where sal is greater than 10,000, something like that. Okay, I just okay. Out of the 14 records, we saw 14 records, isn't it? 14 records. Out of the total 14 records, the 12 people, 12 employees' salary is more than 1,000, which means the 2 employees' salaries are less than 1,000. That is what we can. So now by introducing a filtering criteria in the var class, we use var class to select only the portion of the data set or a subset of the data. If you want to extract it, you can use the var class. The var class, you specify the condition. It is always a good practice to use some condition in the var class. Don't ever use select star. In real-time scenario, even in the developed environment, believe me or not, in Hadoop system we are all working, we are using Hive also. Sometimes the volume of the data is very, very high, 85 million, and sometimes 50 million records are there. If you do it, select star, it will select entire data unnecessarily. Specific to your need, what you do is, or if you want to take a look at how many, I want to see the top 5 records or bottom 5 records, what you do is use top command. Look here, so the top command, right? So top 10. So how do you select the top 10 records? You can use that one, or what you do is you can use some condition here. Select top 10 star from employee. 10 records, top 10 records. I don't want to see the entire records because if you use select star, it will try to fetch the millions of records from your server. It will take a lot of time. Okay, I just want to view the top 5 records. You can do it this way. Okay, top 5 records. And the assignment for you is find out the bottom 5 records. I want to display the last 5 records. Let me see how many of you can. Probably you can do Googling and you can send me, or you can practice it side by side. How do you find out? You can use order by. I have given you the clue. Okay, the next one is, now you understood how to view the top 5 records, top 10 records using select top 5. Okay, but in MySQL it is you need to use limit, using which you can do it. I just type it here, select star from employee limit 5. If you give, this is MySQL query. Okay, MySQL, the equivalent command in MySQL. You can do it. It's an Oracle row num less than or equal to by something. Anyhow, I'm not going to compare so many things. You will get confused. So now you understood how to view the top 5 records, top 10 records, top n records using top 5 function. And also based on some condition, if you want to view the records, you can do this one. Select star from where condition, specific condition. In the last session also we have discussed about the AND operator, AND OR operator. So for example, AND, using AND operator, I just include one more condition. Okay, for those people are salesmen, I wanted to find out the salesman whose salary is more than 1000. So you need to include one more condition. The salary should be more than 1000 and also they should be salesmen. Yes. So out of the 14 records, 4 salesmen, their salary is more than 1000. The SQL query is pretty simple and very much, it is pretty easier because it's an English-like language. Compared to other programming languages, it's very simple and easy to understand this. So now we understood how to select only the subset of the records from the given table. Now I want to select the subset of the columns. I just want to know the e-name column and job and salary from employee table. Look here, subset of the columns selected, only the subset of the. I'll share this script, don't worry. And the next one is here. The next one is, okay, now I wanted to see the exact SP help structure of this table. What columns are there, what are the corresponding data types, and if you scroll down here you can find all the things, primary key and foreign key. Okay, whatever here, look here, it gives you the definition, everything here itself. Okay, I just select this one. The next one is, what I do is I am going to use something called hire date, right? Select, or let me do one thing. I don't know why I came here. Subset of the column and hire date. I'm going to use hire date. You don't have to type it. So hire date is less than, year, month, date format here, 1981 and 1201. So those employees I hired before December 1981. I just wanted to see their name and other details. I'm just pressing F5. Yes, these employees, hire date. So these people are before December 1981, December 1st, 1981. We don't see anything after 1st December 1981. Okay, good. So the middle one is the month. Okay, and 1280. Okay, all these things, hire date. Okay, and also you can use between operator and operator or operator. So likewise you can try, you can put and here, you can try and or not. Okay, and in operator, in also I showed you, right? So in where a job in, you can do it, or you can use multiple, or instead of using multiple, or you can use the in clause. Okay, okay, just for you the interview thing. Okay, select star from employee where job in clerk. See, the SQL, they don't ask much, but still they do some kind of screening. Are you, how much you are comfortable with the SQL query? If you do well with the SQL query also, you can expect, you can demand them more. Okay, the salary, you can ask them the reasonable salary. Okay, so instead of writing this, what is the alternative query for this? You can use where job is equivalent to clerk, or job is equivalent to salesman, and we will see now how many records are there. For the in class, 8 records are there, and if I press F5, here the same output, but two different queries. These two queries are different, but the output is same. But which one is better of these two? This one is better. If you have multiple R class, it will take longer time. Okay, it will not perform well. Okay, so you can tell them, okay, in the existing project they were using multiple R in the var class. After I joined, I recommended them to use in. With the in operator, we are able to reduce the query time. Okay, and the next one is join, inner join. Now what I am going to do is I am going to say select ename comma the department name. I just go and see the department name on the left side columns, the D name. Okay, I mentioned D name here. So here D name I am not supposed to specify it here. From employee as E comma depart as D, where I can directly specify where E dot, what is the common column between these two tables? E dot department number. Look at this one. I am going to join this department with this department number is equivalent to D dot department number. This is called inner join. So common value between these two tables. So all the records are matching with the employee tables. All the department number matches with the department tables department number. 14, all the employees are got assigned to project. That is what we can understand from this. This is called inner join. Okay, and we have something called left outer join. So now what I do is I just go ahead and insert some records into department table. Value something like, I'll just, this is something like 999, comma bench people, something like null. If you don't want to insert anything to a column, you need to specify null. Okay, so I just go ahead and press F5. Yes. Now I just wanted to know the department table. We have inserted a new department number by the with the value of 999. For this, there is no employees got assigned to this department number. Okay. Now your manager is asking you, hey, I wanted to know which department we did not assign any employees. Okay. So in that case, what you can do is ename comma the same query. I just copy paste it in the interest of time. So always, better you can copy paste the script in the interest of productivity. So here what I do is I use something called where left join. Okay, here you're not supposed to use this. The left join is little bit different. Okay, so here itself it is different. The inner join. Okay, inner join. You need to use, so this is another one way of using inner join. Okay, you can directly specify the common column between these two tables with in between you to specify the equal sign. Here I am going to say is the left to join. Okay, left to join the department table as D on E dot depart number. Yeah, D dot depart. So left join. So as E. So it's something wrong with the syntax, because after as, if I specify left join, it got confused. Okay, so in this case it will not show, it is not much helpful. So next one is I'm going to change the order of the table. Instead of this one, I'm going to say the department here. Now if you see, scroll down, you can find out. So what I do is I just specify the department, let's D dot, what is the D dot depart number. Why did I use D dot department number? Because in both the table we have the depart number column is there. SQL Server, if you don't specify the alias, the D dot, D is nothing but the alias for the department table. D dot depart number. Since we have the depart number column is available in both the table, SQL Server will get confused. We need to tell the SQL Server explicitly, hey, from this table, D dot department number, in this table, depart number, whatever is there, you show it here. Look here, 999. So with this left join, we are able to make out for the department number 999, we are to assign the employees. And operations also, I think, there is no corresponding values are there here. Only when you do the left outer join, you can find out which department we are to assign the employees. In this case, supposing you insert an employee with a different department number. Okay, in the case of exceptional reporting, in the real time scenario we say exceptional reporting. So sometimes some wrong values can go here, but since we have enabled the foreign key constraint in the employee table, the department number column, you cannot specify the value for the department number column. You cannot specify something which is different from the department number table's column value. If you cannot specify something 999 here, because you create the foreign key constraint, it will always reference here. If you try to specify some non-existing department number here, it will throw an error. It will get rejected. It will get rejected. It will throw an error first of all. It will not insert. Okay, but supposing you have not enabled the foreign key constraint. See, when it comes to data warehousing, what they do is they disable all the constraints because of the data load performance. Because in the real time we are loading millions of records. If you enable the constraint and load it, it takes a hell lot of time. That's the reason they disable all the constraint, and then they load all the data, and then they enable the constraint. Okay, while enabling the constraints, right, it will reject certain records. It will throw an error. With that, they will do some cases they permanently disable it. We don't need any constraints, but instead what they do is they use some audit table, and they write some script or stored procedure. With that, they will make sure that the anomalies are not getting into this table. Okay, in this table's department number. Fine. Now we understood the left outer join. In the case of left outer join, if we change the order of the table, the output changes. Whereas in inner join, even if you change the order of the table, the output will be same. Left join or left outer join, the same query you copy paste it. Instead of left join, you put right join. And then next one is full join. Okay, full join will select everything. Okay, and if you don't specify any condition here, it is a Cartesian join. Hope you understood all types of joins. Now what I would suggest is I just go to the Google, okay, and I'll just download. I want you all to install this demo database. This is very much important. Even in Power BI, we'll be using that one only. It has a lot of tables, and already they define the relationship, everything. We don't have to worry about this. In the Microsoft website, you can find the sample databases, docs.microsoft.com. So what you do is you can scroll down, and I would suggest you to download the You can use 2019 also, OLTP and data warehouse. Both you need to download. See here you have something lightweight. I did not try lightweight. You can download these two backup files, not back files. Look here, I just downloaded it here. 97 MB, 207 MB. Probably you can also do it side by side. I'll just show you once again. Just go to the Google browser, download AdventureWorks sample database. And when you click on this one, the first the search item itself, you can see it. When you click on this, you can go to the Microsoft site and you can download the 2019 AdventureWorks and AdventureWorks data warehouse, DWS data warehouse. This is OLTP. Look here, OLTP database and data warehouse database. So they have given, Microsoft have given these two backup files with the table and the data also. Okay, all you need to do is just go to the SQL server, this SQL Server Management Studio. Just go to the SQL server, 1 second. SQL Server Management Studio. Here what you do is simply right click on database. Right click on, listen very carefully, okay, and click on restore database. Next step is click on device, and then you just click on this ellipse, 3 dots, nothing but ellipse, and click on add. But before doing this, you have another step. Look here, in my case I already have. So all of you please note down very carefully. Look here, this is the folder, this is the default folder. Okay, see, once the download was successful, look here, in my case see, once now the downloads was successful. See, this is by default get downloaded in my default download folder. Okay, you need to copy these two files and copy paste it in this folder. Look here in the I'll just share this folder to you all in the chat window. I guess all of you installed the SQL Server Management Studio, right? So if you had installed already, definitely you must be having this folder. Okay, but if you had mentioned different path, different thing, right, then you need to go and look up for the backup folder. Okay, I guess all of you would have used the default folder name for the installation, right? So in that case, you need to go to this folder and copy paste those two files which you downloaded it. That's all. See, I'll just write these steps. Step 1, download OLTP and data warehouse .back files and copy those two files to this folder. Copy those two files to this folder. And in step 3, what it is, go to SSMS, SQL Server Management Studio. In that, click on database, just beneath the Object Explorer. And step 4 is click on restore database. It will open a dialog window. Okay, there you need to click on add button, and then look here. So I just clicked add. So now you need to select this file. Click OK. It'll get displayed here, and click OK. And the next step is click OK. Look here. If you click OK, what will happen is this database will get installed in your local. Look here, it is going on. the installation is going on. After few minutes or seconds, okay, still it is in progress. Now it is restored successfully. AdventureWorks 2012. Look here, if I go to the here, so AdventureWorks 2000, look here, 2012 got installed. Okay, I think this is not the latest version. 1 second. Okay, this is night. Why it showed 19, but it is installed 12. Best thing you try with 17. Okay, don't try 19. Try with 17. Download these two files instead of these two files, and once you download it, copy and paste it in this folder, backup folder. The next step is go to this one and the databases. Click on it. Right click on it. Restore databases. And select device. Yeah, you need to select device, and then if you click on it, add. Okay, since you already copied those downloaded files here, you can pick up from here. So the next one is this one. So click OK, and next step is OK, because here in my case it shows 2012. Okay, I don't want to install 2012, but here it was showing 19. I don't know why it was showing so it's not showing 2000. Better you try 17. Look here, after you install 17, it will show something like that. Okay, data warehouse 2012. Yeah, 2012 also okay, but try to install the latest one. I think this is the one, 2017. It will get installed something like that. So afterwards, if you expand the tables, you'll find all the tables got created automatically with the data. Okay, for example, if you want to select product category, it has only few categories are there. And next one, if I select everything here, only few records are there. Only thing is you need to say order detail. Yeah, when you see the order detail, I think this one must be having more number of records. Yes, this one has more number of records. It has a lot of records in it. Okay, so purchase and sales detail, everything. The more number of records are automatically they created relationship, everything. You don't have to do anything. Foreign key, primary key, everything they already taken care in this script. So once you are done with this, you let me know. And if you face any issues, you let me know. Okay, while installing the demo database. Okay, I will share all the scripts whatever I covered so far to you all. Any questions so far? I think we are all set because I covered all the SQL queries. I will share some assignments, the basic SQL queries, right, are related assignments. I will share it to you all. And except senior people, right, junior people, and if you are fresher to this one, you can try it out. And those of you already comfortable SQL, you can simply ignore it. And advanced level SQL queries related assignment also, I will give it to you. You can try with this OLTP database and also data warehouse also, you can try it out. Okay, once you install these two things, you can try or you play around by writing or joining more than two tables based on the assignments whatever I give it. With that, you can quickly build up your knowledge in SQL query. Even with the complex queries, right, you can write it. I will share those assignments, you can start to work on it. And what we will do is starting from this Monday, we will continue from Power BI. Okay, so many tools are there in my mind. This Monday we will start Power BI. All right. So Monday, Wednesday, henceforth we are going to focus only on Power BI. Meanwhile, you practice it. In case of any doubts or any issues, you can let me know. When it comes to queries, I'll try to help you out. Okay. But if you know some extent, it is okay. SQL, they'll ask, how do you do order by? How do you do sort everything, right? There is something called order by. Try those kind of things. Anyhow, everything is there in my script. And also importantly, I will share blog or tutorial blog from my website. Okay. And there you can see all the things, step by step, everything you can see it. For example, you can go and see it from here. Now itself I'll show you. Look here, you can go to my website deepneuron.in. In the courses, when you keep the cursor here and the business, when you click on this one, you can find all the course study material. and the SQL server I am yet to, the whatever I am showing it, I am yet to upload it. I will upload it, okay, because it is a working copy. Anyhow, I will formalize it and I will upload it, okay. The Microsoft SQL Server self page, if you click on this, you need to log in here. I don't have my login ID now. Okay, so once you log in there, you can find on the left side the menu, okay, the link, okay. Likewise, if you click on this, you will see the check constraints, unique constraints, everything you can see there. And side by side, we are uploading the videos also, because we already uploaded everything. Somehow it got crashed. Okay, and also the blog content and the videos also, you can see it here. And if you want to see the Power BI related course study material, you can go and see it there in the first one. Power BI instructor related course, okay. And apart from this, we have two different set of data files, data sets and reports. And first set will be shared now. So let's say after the second one, we'll share it next month, okay, sometime next month, so that when I start covering the advanced part, you will have access to that one. You can download and do it. Now you can, if you have access to this, and if you go and see these files, that is more than sufficient. So Power BI instruct and SQL Server, the classroom study material, I am yet to upload it. Will upload it. And and also if you want to see other videos, you can go and see it, right. So even self-paced, advanced and everything is available. You can go and see it. Interview questions also there, you can go and use it. Okay, since you guys don't have any questions, I'm going to wrap up the session now.